family, how you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love Intuitive Conversations. I hope you guys are good. Yeah? If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, please do keep that on your side of the street, okay? Won't be acknowledged. So, family, I don't think it'll be a long one. In today's video, I'm being guided by Spirit to expand a little bit on some of the things that I spoke about in a few videos back, which I will tag below, right? I'll pin them below. A few videos back, I touched on and I spoke about us being in a process on Earth of moving up of ascending up in consciousness, right? So collectively, Earth and everything connected to Earth that has been previously residing completely in the third dimensional level of consciousness and density has started a process of moving from, well, right now the goal is to move from third dimensional consciousness to fifth dimensional consciousness, right? And that process that we're collectively going through as a human collective, as well as animals and all other things that are connected to Earth who have been bound in the third dimensional realm of consciousness and density, are all going through this process of cleansing and releasing and raising in consciousness and existence, right? So in the last video, I concluded talking about one of the aspects for and reasons for our incarnation into third density, being for us to bring our for us to master ourselves and learn how to live and deal with limitation, and bring the different aspects and extremities of ourselves we might exist in within different aspects of duality and polarity, learning how to master ourselves, learn how to deal with limitation, and bring all those things into balance. Now, again, I will tag that video in the comments below if you are interested in going to check that out. So in that video, I spoke about the different realms of consciousness, right? Being our third dimensional consciousness, our fourth dimensional consciousness, and also I didn't mention the fifth dimensional consciousness, but in this video, for the sake of this video, I'm mentioning the fifth dimensional consciousness, right? And I also explained that we have the dimensional consciousness aspects to things, and we've also got density. So we have third, fourth, fifth dimensional consciousness, and we've also got third, fourth, and fifth levels of density, right? And I explained that with density, it has everything to do with the vibrational speed and energetic speed that we're moving at. So people who are embodied, solid things that look to us like solid objects, we all move at a slower rate. We vibrate at a slower rate. Our energy moves at a slower rate in the lower levels of density compared to the higher density levels of existence, where they are disembodied souls and other entities of higher consciousness and density. They are moving at much faster rates than what we are within this embodiment and this the density realm, right? So the pen is also part of our third density realm. However, it's in a lower level of our third density realm because why? It's vibrating slower. The energy of this pen is vibrating slower than our physical bodies. Our physical bodies are vibrating faster than what this pen is, and the disembodied realms are vibrating faster than what our physical bodies are, which is why we, with our physical eyes, are unable to see them, right? Now, I hope that all made sense. Now, what I also explained, I'm just doing a bit of a recap in that last video, was that our vibration correlates directly to the level of dimensional consciousness that we exist in, right? Now, as we move through this process of changing dimensions of consciousness with us, right, we also, on a conscious level, because this entire process, this time round, previously, before this entire activation of ascension and raising of consciousness, we as humans would have to release our physical third density body to be able to become aware of the fourth dimensional consciousness aspect of ourselves and our souls, right? I say this because how it's described is we come into this realm with the veil of forgetfulness, and that kind of cuts us off from being aware of the higher dimensional consciousness as well as the higher density realms of existence. We come into this realm and we think and we are groomed to just believe, and there's a lot invested in keeping us solely focused and in belief that the third, this realm, the physical realm, the density realm, is all that exists, and that we're just born, we live out here like lost farts and idiots, right? And then we just die. And they don't teach us about what happens after we die. They don't teach us about what happens before we come here. They wrap us up in all the testimonies and manipulated theories and whatever it is that is indoctrinated into people by way of the Bible and all sorts of other things. Well, let me just rather say religion and other things that they take little bits and pieces of the spirituality that that we should be knowing more about, and they mash it all up in those books with their with what they want us to actually be focused on, that the system needs to keep us embroiled in. But again, all of these things also have different layers of existence within them. When you really disconnect from believing and thinking that the third density realm, the physical realm, is everything, you start also understanding the religious books a little differently. You start also being able to see how the religious books are also a certain manifestation of different aspects of our existence. But again, it's a manifestation of different layers and aspects of our existence that are already there. But again, that's something we will talk about in other videos, right? I'm going to just try and stay as grounded and basic as I can with this one. So So how the ascension process triggers within you, right? And unfortunately, some people are so entrenched and so engulfed in the third dimensional consciousness, and they're very dense and slower moving in vibration and energy compared to others, that some people may not even pick up or, you know, be able to engage and connect with the activation that's happened with the ascension. And you'll, if you go into my past videos, you'll hear where I talk that, some people will get left behind, and when they eventually disembody, their conscious levels might be the level of consciousness that they reside at will be so low that they would then, as souls and as third dimensional consciousness, be moved into a different realm of existence that would actually still cater to them and the third dimensional way of, you know, living. And they can incarnate into a world that caters for their level of dimensional consciousness, because Earth herself is moving up into higher fourth and fifth dimensional consciousness, right? So whoever does catch the train, whoever does move with the cleansing and the activation and the ascension that's happening within the embodiment, will be able to participate and exist in a world later. And also kids who are being born into this new world will be of a higher vibration and exist naturally in a higher dimensional consciousness, and also be children who vibrate faster. Okay, there's a lot to it. So I'm gonna talk a little bit just on as much as I can on a surface level, so that someone who has the least amount of knowledge on this thing can even themselves sit a little bit and try and ponder and think, okay, well, how can I put this together in my mind? How does this make sense? There are different, so once we start moving into the fourth dimensional layer, right, we can look at the fourth dimensional layer of consciousness, which means that you have now gone through some sort of event in your life that they would call a spiritual awakening, right? In this spiritual awakening, you awaken to the fact that you are not a part of the system. You are a part of the all that is with the universe. When you're still stuck in your third dimensional consciousness and the third dimensional paradigms, you're kind of what they would say asleep and unconscious, and just living out your existence within whatever the system has told you your existence is, or has seeded into you as seeded and planted into you as a kind of a script to live by and follow unconsciously. When you awaken out of that, and you genuinely have this thing that triggers inside of you, and it's suddenly there's suddenly a space. It's like energetic, and it's only something that can be experienced. It's not something you can exactly explain to somebody, and they're gonna be like, unless they've experienced it, they won't really be able to be like, I think I understand. No, it's not one of those things. But you awaken, something happens. Generally traumatic things might happen in your life, and it awakens you to, and you might go through something that hits the heart chakra, or creates a kind of trauma that creates a separation between you and the world on the outside of you. And generally these things are divinely orchestrated by the higher realms for your own specific divine timing. Okay, everybody who goes through this, there's a divine time for them to go through it. It doesn't just happen. You don't wake up one day and engage in a conversation with somebody because you decided, hey, I'm going to have a conversation with Frank today, and I'm going to awaken Frank. Okay, I'm going to talk to Frank about this and he's going to wake up. No, it doesn't work that way. It's an internal process you have to go through, and a separation within your consciousness that kind of creates a barrier between your consciousness, your conscious state of being, and the system that you've had yourself engulfed in unconsciously, right? There's a separation that happens, and even ever so slightly, even just the slightest separation can trigger an array of awakening events in a person's life and perspective. Suddenly you see, you see people differently. You suddenly become privy to how everybody around you is living out a script, how everybody around you is programmed, and you recognize, you're able then to introspect, and you become self-aware on a completely different level, and you're able to recognize certain, just start recognizing certain aspects within yourself. Well, all the aspects, not at once, over time. You start awakening to the different aspects of yourself that you've also been existing in programming, and learn how to shed those things. And the more you do that, the more you start separating and seeing where you are no longer like the others who might still be completely asleep and engulfed in the programming in your environment around you. It's quite jarring in the beginning, and you go through different phases of your spiritual awakening, where in the beginning you want to just shout out to the rooftops, you want to awaken everybody, you see all the things that other people don't see, and then you end up being called the crazy one. And what's so unfortunate is that so many of these people who go through these awakening events, the system has, psychiatrists and psychologists actually end up throwing them into psychiatric wards and putting them under all kinds of medication when it's completely unnecessary. They're just going through an awakening process. I mean, can you imagine how many people, when I'm talking about this, how many people have actually been thrown into these facilities who don't need to be there? People who are ascending and awakening in their consciousness, but the system understands these things, and they don't want these kinds of people just freely, existing out there, but they also can't control it. And with the ascension with Earth happening right now, it's their system becomes, futile to kind of contain what they've managed to contain for so long, and have people believing that, what they preach and what they have indoctrinated as real, not real, as right and wrong, as sane and insane, it becomes null and void. And it's happening faster and faster and faster as our years are going by. Anyway, so this, going through this, the portion of awakening which is moving from the third dimensional consciousness into the lower fourth dimensional consciousness, right? Remember I said the fourth dimension layer. The fourth dimensional layer we can see as a layer of transition that we have to go through before we move comfortably, consciously, within our embodiment into the fifth dimensional layer, right? There's a lot that needs to happen before we are actually able to, within embodiment, exist in the fifth dimensional layer of consciousness. The fourth dimension has a lot that we need to actually pass through and work through and ascend through and, awaken to, and overcome, because the process of moving through the fourth dimension means we have to cleanse ourselves of fear. We have to awaken to all the places within ourselves that we've been programmed. We have to bring our emotional states into alignment, and our aspects that, our extremities within duality, and the different polarities that we exist in. We also need to learn how to bring all of those into balance, right? And after that, or during all of that, as your consciousness rises and your awareness increases, and you're able to start holding more and more information, and all the things you have to now digest and process that the system all these years has told you is fake, is unreal, told you you should be afraid of, told you is wrong, you know, the list goes on and on and on, how they've actually kept everybody in, under and within limitation, right? As you work through all of these things, there are also other spiritual aspects within the disembodied realm that you start becoming aware and conscious of as you move through the lower fourth dimensional realm towards the higher fourth dimensional realm. Okay, and this is all stuff that as your third eye decalcifies, and in other videos I'll talk about our third eye and other aspects as well, with calcifying and decalcifying. There's a lot to that as well. But as we start learning and becoming aware of the different things that we are now seeing, you start seeing things and picking up on things, and your intuition starts opening up, and as you heal yourself, and as you integrate more information and hold that information, you start tapping into all these things that that are in movies things that they've made you afraid of in the movies. So a lot of what you see in horror films, right, a lot of what you see in horror films is are things that exist in our fourth layer of density, the disembodied realm, right, that exists in the lower fourth dimensional consciousness. Now, in that layer of the lower fourth dimensional consciousness, there you will start tapping into and becoming aware of all the things that are existing in the collective of that layer and realm and of consciousness that exists within the soul consciousness of the embodied people, as well as the disembodied realm, right? And in that realm is all the stuff that horror movies are made of. And it's a realm that you also you overcome your fear. You have and that's because of what you actually experience as you pass through that realm. And again, as people pass through that realm, that in the physical world, to outsiders, it looks like people are losing their minds, which is why meditation is so important, which is why, getting clued up and doing your spiritual work and enlightening yourself over the spiritual issues that pertain to our existence, and, being human, and all the other things that, the Bible and that the church will tell you is the demon, is the devil, is whatever. Stay away from it. No, don't stay away from it. Don't be afraid of those things. Learn about those things, because as you ascend, you're going to actually start tapping into these realms of existence and consciousness. And again, you're either going to lose your mind because you're not going to understand what's happening, because you've been cut off and the system and the church have told you to stay away from it all, and your horror movies and everything else have told you to fear it, or you're going to align yourself with, and you're going to learn to release the fear of the unknown, and recognize where parts of the system have been trying to keep you captive and away from things that are associated to what is a part of an ascension process. Okay, it's not all sunshine, humming and harring and meditating and chakras and this and that. As no, okay, it can be grueling, and the less enlightened you are about certain things, the more painful, the more difficult, the more scary it can all be. But when you know, then you learn, you're not afraid. You learn to deal with these things better. And as you become more aware, as you release the fear, as well with all this extraterrestrial talk and all of that, I mean, we can't be that, that limited in our minds to think that, we're the only ones who exist here, right? Of course, there are other different forms of beings and existence that are with us. So again, these are things you've been programmed to be afraid of, things you've been programmed, to be averse to, and to project fear towards, because they've imbued and thrown words like invasion and captive and all kind, all those buzzwords that they throw into videos and movies, and that they throw into news reports, and that they throw into all kinds of things that are meant to send you off into fear and have you alarmed. These are things we need to overcome and detach ourselves from. Okay, and understand that certain things that we will go through as we're ascending with earth, we will have no choice but to pass through these layers of consciousness and existence and density, and they're going to become a part of our experience at some point. Well, they're going to become a part of the experience at some point. And again, like I've said in the previous video, it'll become a thing of natural selection. Some people will be able to withstand this and be able to also, deal with what, becoming aware of other layers of existence and consciousness comes with, or they won't. Apart from the what I've just spoken about, as you increase in your awareness, you're also going to become privy to things within the people around you that you pick up intuitively, as well as with your third eye. Okay, that you were not able to see past the illusion. You were not able to see past the flesh before. Okay, all of these things are going to become privy to you, and you're going to have to learn how to integrate and experience all these things at the same time as you pass through your fourth level of the fourth dimensional layer of consciousness to move into fifth with earth, right? So like I said, it will become a thing of natural selection. Some people won't be able to deal with these things. Some people don't meditate. Some people don't know how to slow down their energy and whatever they have going on in their minds. Some people don't take it seriously to cleanse and release all the old energy and old aspects of themselves, and the old paradigms and ways of thinking, and the old consciousness, and to transcend themselves and to ground themselves and slow down. They don't take these things seriously. So those are the people, also the ones who are extremely attached to the physical realm, the ones who are extremely attached to things because of fear and fear of losing. All of these things are going to be part of the experience with this ascension process. Not all at once, but there will come a time where you'll be experiencing multiple things of what I've just spoken about at the same time. And we need to learn over time how to ground ourselves and to not live in fear, and start learning how to be okay with the unknown, because the Google is not going to be able to help you at all. It'll be your higher dimensional guidance. It'll be the disembodied realm your ancestors, whoever it is that's guiding you in the disembodied realm, that are going to be there and available to help you and move us all into the higher level of consciousness, right? But again, I think I'm going to stop over there, okay? And touch again on this in the future. I think I've also just given enough to think on and to really ponder, right? We need to just start learning how to release all these things that we're attached to and start opening ourselves and opening ourselves to other things that previously we've been programmed don't make sense when they're actually a part of our existence. And they put it on the TV, they put it in the movies, they put it in the series, they put it in the horror films, so that it's programmed into you as something that isn't real and that doesn't make sense. And they deliberately don't teach you about your third eye and your intuition and, you know, the higher levels of dimension and densities of existence. Because the moment you go into that, or you start being triggered into those aspects, you become afraid. And what does fear do? Fear puts you straight back into the third dimensional density and third dimensional layer of consciousness and existence. That's where they want to keep you. It's all strategically done. Okay? So, become more aware. Okay? Become more aware. I'm going to read from the flower therapy deck today, okay, and see what Spirit has to support our conversation, or give someone who's watching our video I've got energy moving, or give somebody who's watching our video a nudge in a specific direction, okay? A nudge in a specific direction. Spirit, may I please have one card? Thank you. Financial healing. Your money struggles are a thing of the past. Be open to all avenues to receiving, and you'll be provided for in every way. So, understand that finances, spiritually, in the spiritual world, finances and money are not just what you in the third dimensional realm and world have been programmed to believe finances and money are. You can also be abundant in energy. Energy is money. Your connection to your higher realms, to your spiritual realm, to your ancestors, and to the disembodied realm who help you is also being financially, you know, wealthy and rich. And it's also financially, it's healing, because you become you heal your energy, you heal you heal your state of being, which also heals your finances, right? Internally, you become abundant beyond third dimensional realm of existence and whatever you've been made to bind yourself to there. Okay, so let me see what the book has to say, and yeah, let's see, family. Financial healing. The book says, you may have endured some difficult times recently and feel that an increase in prosperity would make it all better. Well, your prayers have been answered. Take this card as a sign that heaven has heard your prayers about your financial concerns and is bringing you abundance. Your finances are on the mend and becoming more balanced right now. You deserve to have all that you need to live a happy, fulfilled, and comfortable life. I've been told to stop there. So, if you are somebody who's going through this process and you feel a little like you're losing your mind, I hope that this video can help ground you a little and help you understand, and maybe guide you into doing a little bit more research about, you know, spirituality and the ascension. Look into ascension symptoms. read into what, into spirituality and healing, and try and understand as well. Align yourself to the information you need. You don't always need a doctor. Doctors will prescribe things to you that can't be fixed by medicine. They're fixed by, by soul healing, and by raising your awareness, and by releasing things that don't serve you. Okay, bringing yourself into alignment. But anyway, I'm gonna stop there, okay, because there's a lot to talk about here, and I definitely will talk about this again in the future. Anyway, if something's resonated, family, please do like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye.